Hello everyone, Common Own Customs here. Unfortunately, I just got in my Incinerator trooper I ordered, and he looks really bad. In case you can't tell, the helmet has like a massive lump right here. Like it's like just this huge, I don't know what you call it. Yeah, like a lump. The helmet is totally messed up. Super disappointing. You can kind of see here, this is minor compared to the lump now, but there's some white overflow right there where the print's messed up on top of the frown. And the frown itself, I don't know if I can capture it exactly on video, but the frown itself is like painted on the face rather than inside the frown, the black is. And then if you take off the helmet, you can see here, that chin is like poking out of the helmet. What is that? It's like, it's not even fully in there. The head is like super misaligned, the helmet's super warped. And then I noticed on the backpack, they put the backpack on upside down. So these hoses here, they're supposed to cut, this whole thing is supposed to be flipped the other direction. But due to how they did the pegs, you can't just flip it. They designed it like this. They designed it the wrong way. And then I also just noticed the weathering, like on the legs especially, just doesn't look very good. It's like, it's super big scratches. And for those of you who aren't big customizers, whenever you do details like weathering or scratches, you always want to be subtle. You want to do the smallest scratches possible. That conveys a larger sense of scale. So it basically makes it look like it's something bigger. The scratches on the helmet aren't bad. These ones are decent, I would say, for like, you know, mass-produced weathering. It isn't bad. But the leg scratch, I don't know why they did that. They did the same thing on like the 3rd and 3/2 clone. It doesn't look good. So I'm going to fix that too. So I'm going to do the helmet. I'm going to fix the scratches. I'm going to flip the tank because the tank needs to be flipped. It's also missing some red lines on the tank. There's supposed to be red lines here. They didn't do those either. And then it's also missing this, or not missing, but this thermal detonator here. That's not supposed to be there. It's not on the original costume. They probably just included it because the original Stormtrooper sculpt had it. Oddly enough, it's not a good idea to have a thermal detonator right next to an explosive canister of flaming gas. So I'm going to remove that too. Basically just do a whole overhaul on this guy and show you guys how I do it so you can do it yourself. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so I have some water boiling. My plan is basically to take this sucker, throw him in there for like 10 minutes, and just really let this plastic soften up. And then I'm just going to yank this head out, and hopefully that'll fix most of it if I'm lucky. I'm not certain I'm going to be able to fix this, but I'm going to do my best. I really am, because I bought this, and if you return it, they just send you like a random figure like Jyn Erso that's been sitting in the warehouse for years. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to find another one of these ever without paying like $40 or $50. So I'm just going to work with what I got because, you know, Hasbro customer service sucks. So here we go. Let's do it. In we go. Alright, this little guy's been marinating in there for about 10 minutes now. So we'll go ahead and take him out and see if I can't get that stupid little head out there. And we got it. Let's throw it back in and see if it'll reform properly. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, I'm now going to try and paint over some of this weathering just to make it look a little better. As I said before, these big scratches really aren't realistic. It doesn't really look much like how it is in the show. So I'm just going to cover all of that up. And I'm just going to re-weather it myself because I'm pretty good at weathering, I like to think. So I think I can do a better job. So let's hit it. I'm going to use Vallejo Air Ferrari Red. I think this is going to be a little bit too light, so I'm probably going to mix it with a little bit of black, maybe a little bit of blue. We're just gonna get as close as possible. There's better colors that you could use out there for this. This is just what I have, so I'm gonna work with what I have. So let's do it. Okay, so right off the bat, actually it looks like this might work pretty well. Let's see here. We are just going to cover these up. There we go. Yes. Alright, so I ended up adding a little bit of black to the mixture, and it definitely made it look a lot better. I think I'm pretty much done painting in those lines there. Made the paint lines a lot crisp. Now I'm going to move on to the chest, legs, and other parts. Something I would say is that red paint bleeds very easily, so be very, very careful not to handle it with your fingers if you can. Okay, since the red paint is now done, I'm now going to just paint in the frown with a little bit of black. I'm going to use a little bit of Vallejo Air White to weather this helmet. Just going to go off this little picture I have of the one from the show and just do small, small, small lines. Let's do it. That's about done. Looking pretty good. Alright, so we're done weathering. As you can see, he's much more subtly weathered now. There's no more big scratches. Instead, it's little tiny dings which make it a little more realistic. So now that that's done, what we're going to do next is we're going to apply a clear coat to them. I'm going to be using Krylon UV resistant clear acrylic coating. There it is right there. What this does is it'll slightly matte it. So it'll give it a bit of a matte finish. And that's what he has in the show as well. It's not this plasticky glossy. It's going to have a slight matte finish, but it'll also prevent this red paint from rubbing. Because with red paint, it's really prone to even just, it's dry right now, but even just touching it, you could rub it and then give the armor a pink discoloration. So I'm going to use this. If you want to make it look a bit more like a Hasbro fig, you could instead use like Krylon crystal clear acrylic coating. This is a gloss finish, so it'll give it that plasticky look. But I prefer them to have a bit more of a matte look. If they're weathered. If they're weathered, I like them to have a matte look. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. I will go spray it. See you. While that's going, we're going to do a little bit with the jetpack. I think I'm going to paint, there's two, there's red lines that should be here and here that I'm going to paint in. And I think I'm going to paint these wires black. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of a dry brush to bring out some of the details. So let's go do that. Again, I'm going to use Ferrari red for this, as I did with everything else. And I'm going to use a very small 000 brush, and that should do the trick. So I have my small 000 brush. Just gonna start about here, let's see. A little lower. Here. I'm gonna go right where the curve starts in the tank. Okay, there's one. Now for the other side, make sure it lines up. And there we go. Now I'm just gonna clean those up a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna do the next ones and then I'll clean them up. So we're gonna do the same thing on the bottom. We're just gonna put it right about here. Then we'll do the next one. There we go. Now we'll do the same up top. Go back and clean up the one we did first. It's looking pretty good. Now we'll do this one as well. Sweet. That looks really good. I'm a huge fan of that. Now I'm gonna go and paint these wires black. The whole thing is supposed to be black, but I think that adding a little bit of sort of color diversity to these wires is gonna help them look a lot better. So let's take care of that. Using a bigger brush this time, just gonna hit these bad puppies. There we go. Alright, so with this backpack now pretty much done up, we're now just going to do a little bit of dry brushing. I applied a light layer of the matte sealant on it so it's a little less shiny. I also painted these wires black just because I thought it looked better, and I definitely think it does. So I'm just going to take a little bit of vallejo silver and do some dry brushing. So let's hit some of these edges. Alright, so with that out of the way, now we're just going to go and cut the thermal detonator off on the back. Again, the actual costume doesn't have that little thermal detonator there, so we're just going to cut it off with a hobby knife, X-Acto knife, whatever you want to use. Pretty simple. Just go to the back and cut flat to the face of the belt. Basically, all you need to dry brush is just put a little bit of paint on your brush and then just hit these little edges right there, just like that. And that'll kind of weather the ridges, make it just look a little bit more realistic. Oops, a little too much there. The goal is basically just to make it, you want to hit the places where realistically things would scuff if it was real. Go along those edges, bring out that sculpt. There we go. Got a little bit on the tank itself. Now it looks a lot more like it's actually sort of a metal object. So that's pretty cool. Now we're going to hit the weapon as well. With the weapon, you're just going to do the same thing. Get a little bit of silver and just go along the edges. I'm going to put a lot of silver on this little grill thing here. There we go. I don't know why Hasbro doesn't paint their weapons anymore. They used to paint their weapons, but now they don't. I think they look a lot better painted. Put a lot of silver on the front of these things because they would probably get used a lot with metal and things. You can maybe even put some sort of effect to burn them. That would look cool. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. Just something a little more realistic there. Alright, so in order to now attach the backpack, first thing we're going to do is just cut off this little knob. Right here, we're not going to need that. Okay, that's gone. Now we're going to cut it in half. So let's just, right, that. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these buckles right here, we're going to cut them off and we're going to attach them to the bottom of the frame of the backpack. Well, what's supposed to be the bottom. So let's do that real quick. Now we're going to attach the backpack. We're just going to put some super glue on the back and then we will put it on. There we go. And then for the backpack, remember we want to put it upside down compared to how it was because that's how it's supposed to be. Have it nice and centered. We want this little top part to be just a little bit above the back of the plate. And so we'll put that there, and that is looking pretty good. Yeah. There it is. Alright, so now this is cut. We're going to put just a little bit of super glue on the end of this thing. And we're just going to insert it right into there. Just like that. Oops. Right into there. real quick, because we did paint the helmet essentially matte, in order to make the lenses shiny again, I'm going to go ahead and use Vallejo gloss varnish. I'm just going to paint that onto the lens, as simple as that, and that should make them nice and shiny. So let's check that out real quick. Not a whole lot to that one, just hand painted it on with a small little brush, and now the lenses are nice and shiny again, so that's awesome. Okay, so for the strap in the back here, basically you just want to measure it so that it comes right to there, and you want to cut off whatever excess there is. I ended up with a piece like 1.5 centimeters long, I want to say, and you want to save this piece, because this is the piece that I cut off from the strap right here. What we're going to do with that is we're going to then use it to make the strap up top right here, because we cut that off. We're just going to put that right there. So I'm going to super glue that in place. Alright, so once you've glued the excess straps on, you can just put a little bit of super glue on the end and then super glue them to the backpack. Just like that. There we go. There's one. And then we'll do the other one. There it is. Super glue's on, so now we'll just push it down onto the backpack. And there we go. Top straps are good. Alright, so that's done. Now for the last strap. We already measured it, so we're just going to put a dab of super glue right there. And then we're just going to grab the strap and put it there. Just got to hold it there for a couple seconds so the glue hardens. But once it does, you can just release and it should be good to go. Alright, so the straps are now all fully attached, the backpack's fully hooked up. Now all we have left to do is attach the head. So to do that, we're just going to do a Vaseline and super glue joint. Let's do it. Alright, going to cover the neck peg in just a bit of Vaseline, like that. The Vaseline is so that when we put the hot glue into the head, it doesn't adhere to the neck joint, so that's good to do. Now we're just going to get our helmet and fill it with hot glue. Only really need to fill it, I would say, like 3/8 of the way. Don't want to fill it too much because then it'll spill out and then it's really gross. So yeah, just do about 3/8. Oops. Just enough to form a ball joint. That should be good. Then we get our trooper and just pop the head in. And hold it there. It's good to hold it upside down so that the hot glue doesn't leak onto the rest of the figure. Alright, so that concludes my tutorial. Hopefully this helped you guys out, because I know that this is definitely a lot better than the figure I originally got. Now his backpack is properly routed, just like that, to where it should go. The tank's the right way, and it's weathered, it has the red lines now, and just in general, I think that the armor overall looks so much better than the default weathering. I just wish they would kind of look more at the images so they could see what the weathering looks like, because they could do this. They could definitely do this. So hopefully, yeah, the helmet, huge improvement. If you get one like that, just, man, boil it please, and it'll look so much better. Mine still isn't perfect. You can see it's still a little bit raised to the right, but it's so much better than how I got it. So I'll take that little victory. So again, hopefully this helped. If you guys want to see any other tutorials, please let me know. I will try to get to them as soon as possible. I'm doing like 3 right now, but I'll start a 4th one, so hopefully I show some stuff up soon. Anyways, see you guys next time. Peace.